Good hello friends, my name is Melanie and welcome back to my channel. So today I have a pretty quick video for you guys because I'm going to be talking about my most disappointing books of 2020, and luckily it's not like my best of 2020 because I didn't have like a least favorite of the month every month. I just had a bunch of least favorites. So I'm gonna go through those few with you right now, and honestly this will be a pretty quick video because we don't want to waste time talking about bad books. So the first book that I had to talk about on this list is Wicked Saints by Emily A. Duncan. I gave this book a 2-star and I absolutely like roasted the hell out of it in a reading vlog. It was like the reject cousin in the Shadow and Bone family, and I was extremely disappointed by it. So many people were so pleased by it, and it wasn't very good. I think my biggest issue was the fact that it was like so hyped up, and then I found out that this was like a fan fiction turned, like a Shadow and Bone fan fiction turned into a novel, and like all power to her in going from Tumblr to a novel and getting a second book published, you know, like more power to you. This was just not it for me, and that storyline kind of reminds me a little bit of how After got published, and we're just not going to talk about that either because that was just as bad. So Wicked Saints is number 1 on this list, and unfortunately one of the biggest disappointments I think I've ever felt in my entire life. Up next is Fowless Fair by Hannah Capin. This is an arc that I received from NetGalley, and I thought this concept was really cool. You know, it's a retelling of Macbeth, really dark. You have 3 girls that are like super kind of crazy, kind of power hungry, but I just didn't like how this got executed. I found that it was like really tacky, and like the retelling aspect of it, or not retelling, but like it's just inspired by Macbeth, and there's a lot of Macbeth storyline obviously in it, but it just was not it. I did not like the vibes that it was giving off. I didn't like the way it felt like just like dirty. The women in this novel just, you know how there's like a murderous woman trope where she's like a badass, so you love her for that? It's like she tried to be a badass, but she was just like I didn't like Fowless Fair at all. Gave it a 2.5 star, and that half star was really just for the whole fact that, you know, the storyline really followed Macbeth in a really interesting way, but I was not a fan. Up next, we probably have one of the most controversial on this list, and that is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty, which I gave a 2.5 star. This is like one of the most heart-wrenching things because I've talked about this before. Book 1 I really enjoyed because I found myself so represented, even though like I don't come from like a super Middle Eastern background. But I found that a lot of these things were things that I knew of, I talked about, I felt, and I could relate to. But then book 1 kind of fell off the wayside towards the end. Book 2 unfortunately really did not hit it for me. I found that I was kind of dragging myself through the book, and it was one of those things where as much as I wanted to love it, I just couldn't. I knew it's a BookTube favorite, and so I was like, oh, I'm totally gonna love this because I slip into the popular majority pretty often, but this was one that did not do it. I also, funny story, ended up starting book 3 instead of book 2 in the series, and got about 30 to 40% into it, realized that I was reading book 3 and not book 2, but was still okay with the progression that book 3 was going into. I just kind of assumed that I was missing stuff because I was like speed reading through book 1, but I was wrong. I was just bored. Up next I have The Wicked King by Holly Black, which is book 2 in the Cruel Prince series. You guys know I love book 1. Book 2 did not stand up to it. I have a full series review. Go ahead and check that out for more on that. Next up I have China Rich Girlfriend by Kwan. This is a book that I finished. Unfortunately I should have DNF'd it because it was just bad. Like it took all of the intensities to like a next level, but it was so toxic and so just not fun to read from. Book 1 was really interesting because you're able to see like the dynamics of the family, but this one just felt like a hot mess. People were out against each other for no reason, and I was just so upset. Next I have The Glass Hotel by Emily St. John Mandel. This wasn't necessarily disappointing because of like the overarching story. It was just like I knew that I was going to love Emily St. John Mandel's writing. I knew that this was going to be a story that like was interesting, but it was just so all over the place that I was so disappointed with how it was written. Like Station 11 follows a really interesting timeline, and it does go back and forth, but it makes sense. With The Glass Hotel, I didn't care about these characters, I didn't understand the timeline, and I just wasn't pleased. And finally, the book that I DNF'd on this list is Godsgrave by Jay Kristoff. Kristoff. I got about 50% through this and then I put it down because I was bored. I didn't like the trials aspect of this, and normally I love trials. I love them in An Ember in the Ashes, but this gladiator theme that we were feeling here was not it for me. I don't know why, but this felt so much more gory and so much like harder to get through, and I loved Nevernight, so this was really disappointing for me, and unfortunately the DNF stays DNF. I'm probably not going to pick it up. That is it for my least favorites of 2020, and I really hope that we can leave this list of 7 as the list of 7 and I have no more disappointing reads after this, but I also hope that 2021 is full of a lot more amazing books instead of disappointing books. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If there are any books on this list that you think surprise you, which I know there are a few, let me know in the comments down below and let me know your most disappointing book of 2020. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and until then, I'll catch you in the new year.